got involved after I started practicing law. Just as I looked through the law, saw things that didn't seem quite right, things that I felt like could have been done better, and I felt like I could possibly fill a gap and maybe help to make some of those things work a little better. And kind of came to a head for me when the Tennessee Waltz events occurred in regards to some legislators taking bribes to pass legislation back a few years ago. Kind of made me feel that the time had come to try to make a difference, to try to go ahead and step up. To be effective, I think you have to have an education, both from a formal education perspective, the book learning side of it, in addition to have some common sense, some work experience. You've got to have a willingness to stand up for what you think's right, what you think is appropriate for the situation, even if that may sometimes not necessarily be the most popular thing to do. Honesty and a desire to help others. I think if you combine those three or four things together, that's kind of the core that you need to be an effective leader. One of the common, I guess, characteristics that you see in those individuals, and I think one of those characteristics that makes an individual a good leader, is they tend to listen much more than they talk. They try to look at both sides of an issue. They try to hear from as many people as they can who are knowledgeable in the field that you're discussing and debating before they make a decision. They don't jump to a rash decision. They don't follow the leader, so to speak. They listen and they learn. One of the common themes I see among those who have been there for a long time and seem to do the job well as far as representing the people of our state and being involved in state government is that ability and that willingness to listen and to think and study issues very carefully before they make a decision. Be involved. Find something, some area of your life, some area of the world, or some interest that engages you and interests you a great deal, and follow up with that. Follow through with it. Take a leadership position in that organization, be it 4-H or FFA if you have agricultural interests. Step up and be involved. Involve yourself, engage yourself both in the practice of those organizations and the leadership of those organizations. The best thing you can do, in my opinion, if you want to learn how to make things better, and I think we should all be interested in making things better for the people of this state. Step up and take a leadership role, or within a particular organization. Step up and join something. Be involved outside of just your career, just your home life. Be involved with the people around you in your community in some form or fashion. I've long held the belief if you're not working every day to make our state and our country a better place, then you're holding us back. There is no neutrality. There is no middle ground. There is no neutral. If you're in neutral, then you're holding us back. Everyone, it would be my desire and my hope that everyone every day would be doing a little something to make our state and our country and our world a better place. So the start with that is to step up and get involved. Well, I certainly see a sense of apathy that might be a little bit greater in our generation than in years past. Folks, by and large, and it's excusable to a degree. We get caught up in in our age group. You get caught up. You're starting a family. You're having children. People tend not to pay attention to what's going on at the government level, at the state level and the federal level, and I think that's even more so with our generation as opposed to some generations past. And There's an old saying that I've heard several times in Nashville in the legislature that making law is kind of like making sausage. You don't really want to see it done, which it can be messy and unpleasant at times, but you need to watch it. You need to watch what's going on, see what's going into there, because there can be some very unpleasant things that can wind up happening if the people, the public, that sends us into that position to make the policy for our state and for our country, there can be some pretty bad things go on if we don't watch and keep a close eye on what's going on with those people who are making those decisions. The general appearance from the outside looking in is that it's Republican versus Democrat, and everyone's at each other's throat, and it's a very adversarial proceeding all the time. That was one of the biggest realizations when you get there. That's not really the case. Everyone who's there, for the most part, is there because they have a desire to help other people and a desire to make good policy for the state. And those of us on different sides of the aisle get along very well personally, outside of the floor of the House, outside of the committee meetings, even in those meetings and proceedings, but even outside, there's a sense of camaraderie there that even if we don't agree on the best means to best direction to get to where we want to go, we all generally have the best interest of the state in mind when we're determining on where we should go. I'd say most of the issues we have to deal with are more of an urban versus rural mentality, an urban versus rural policy debate, as opposed to a Republican versus Democrat argument. There are things that work very differently in urban areas than they do in rural areas in a wide variety of topics, and that can often be where we have some of our greatest divide and some of our greatest arguments over what's the best policy for statewide application. Public education is one of the most important responsibilities that, if not the most important responsibility that we have at the state government level anyway. More than half of our budget in the state of Tennessee is consumed in public education expenses every year. We put a great amount of time and money and effort into public education, and rightfully so. We have a number of schools across the state that are failing, systems that are failing to educate our populations, and I don't put the blame of that totally on the schools by any means in those locations, because a large number of those schools that are not functioning well are in very poverty-stricken areas of the state, more urban areas. But we've got to make sure that those children and those parents in those failing areas have options to make sure that those children have the option and the availability of a quality education system. We can't make them take advantage of it, but we can certainly make sure that the option's there, that they've got the ability to attend a public school that offers a quality education. I'm the only practicing Republican attorney in the House, and I think we have a total of 5 lawyers out of the 99 members of the House who are currently sitting in the body. Some folks say that's probably about 5 too many. I am carrying Governor Haslam's Tort Reform bill and Civil Justice Reform package in our state house, and working with a variety of some of the best legal minds in our state and across the country in developing a system that will ensure that people have access to justice and access to the courts, but there is a balance with the cost to society, and that makes our state one of the most business-friendly states that is not encumbered by unnecessary regulation and unnecessary lawsuit abuse, as so many other areas are. One of the issues we worked on for the last few years was dealing with Second Amendment rights and carrying rights, specifically in restaurants that may serve alcohol. And I really wasn't that big of a fan of the bill that was passed as far as the technical aspects. A restaurant owner challenged that statute in court, and the court, I think rightfully so, the judge who heard that case found that the statute was void due to being too vague, which essentially means you couldn't tell what was authorized, what was a criminal act and what wasn't in the statute that we passed. We came back the next year and were able to fix that. I took an active role in redrafting that statute and making it something that would work. It eliminated those problems, and we have a better state and better policy and better law because of it. So. Well, I think certainly we need to assess our geographic benefits. We are roughly, when it comes to the population center of the world, I mean not of the world, but of our country. Economically, in addition, we've got the Megaside project over in the Brownsville area that's going in. We're going to try to continue to develop that on the state level. We also have some of the greatest people, some of the most hardworking people in the world right here in our area, and we certainly need to let business know and development know across the country that we are open for business and we're ready to go to work for folks as they wish to come and expand with our beautiful geography and scenery and our low tax base. We're a great place to live and to work.